Hi guys, welcome back to the second video. We're going to have a look at another example of creating a program that contains, in this case, a couple of functions. Now hopefully you can see this here, but in the light grey background I've written what this program needs to do, and we're going to use a couple of functions to do that. Now it says write a program that has two functions. The first function asks the user for the cost of an item, and also I'm going to get the user to type in their name and how many items bought, and also the cost of the item. Okay, so more accurately, the person's name, the name of the item bought, the cost of the item, and then the number of that particular item bought. And the second function is going to get this information sent to it. It's going to calculate the total cost, the GST, and the total including GST, and then is going to output that information. Okay, so I've already written a function here that I've called getInfo, and it's simply going to be getting the information that we're after. So 4 prompt statements, a couple of numbers, so number in front, and this function I've simply called getInfo. Notice it has nothing inside the brackets because it's not receiving any information. It's going to send this information somewhere else. Okay, and let's see how we can get it to do that soon, but let's create the second function for now. So this is function, let's simply call it process info, and it needs to receive 4 bits of information. Okay, the username, okay, the item bought, which is another piece of text, the cost of the item, and the number of items bought. So it should be receiving those 4 bits of information. Now it needs to do something with that information. So we don't need to process the name or the name of the item bought, but we do need to do something with the cost of the item and the number of items to get the total cost. So let's make a new variable called total cost, and it's going to be equal to the cost of the item times the number of items. And I'm not going to worry too much about rounding here. Okay, and let's get the GST. So let's make a variable called simply GST. Shouldn't really make that capital because it's not a constant. Let's actually declare a constant at 0.15, which is the GST. 15% is a decimal, and I'll use that in my calculation. Okay, and so let's call this then total GST will do. And so I'm going to take the total cost and multiply it by the GST here. The reason why I might use a constant here is that if GST changes in the future and I've got GST used in a few calculations going in my program, I need to change this value here once. Okay, so that should have calculated the GST, total GST, and let's now get the costs including GST. Okay, so call it that as a variable, and we're simply going to add the total cost to the total GST. Remember, the total cost is the amount before GST was added on. Okay, got that, and since this function here is also going to do the output, okay, we'll put a console.log, and let's just put hi and then the username. And I'll put a different line down here. And let's get item bought plus item bought, and let's just print out the cost including GST. And let's put in here the number of items bought. So the cost for 2, let's say jackets or something, and let's put some more text here. So the costs including GST for 2, and let's put then the name Okay, so the cost including GST for 2 jackets. Okay, so let's get the item bought name. Is, and then we need to add on the cost including GST that I just calculated, or the program just did. So let's see if that makes sense. Hi, item bought, jacket, cost including GST for 2 jacket, I know the English doesn't sound brilliant, is, and then the costs. Okay, and we should really have a $sign there, and we won't have any rounding. Okay, now I'm going to predict that when I run this program, well, for a start, if I run this, okay, nothing happens. I've got 2 functions declared here and I'm not using them. Okay, so let's use the functions. Now you can either declare the functions at the top and use them underneath that, or you can have the main program running up here calling on the functions as they're needed. Okay, so I'm just simply going to call that getInfo function, and then I want to process the info. Now some of you may be alert to the fact we're going to run into a problem here, I predict, but let's run it through. Name Fred jacket. Let's say it's an expensive-ish jacket, $250. One. Right, here we go. Cost including GST for undefined is not a number. So what the heck was going on here? Well, the problem is this function's set up to receive 4 bits of information, but this function here is not sending anything. So what we need to do is we need to put in some return statements, and I don't know if I can do that on multiple lines, or need to do it on multiple lines or one line, to be quite honest, but we're going to return the username. Let's see if I can put that on one line. Unexpected. Okay, well, let's put it on multiple lines, and I'll have to research if we can do this on one line somehow. Okay, so we're going to return those 4 bits of information. You may think, well, where are you returning them to? Wherever a function needs these bits of information. So we're sending these 4 bits of information, okay, hopefully up to here, and this function here needs to receive those 4 bits of information. Okay, so let's put the last one in, and we need to set this up so it's going to receive these bits of information. Now, one other thing we'll need to discuss is local and global variables, but because sometimes these names that you're referring to here don't need to be the same as these ones, but to try and avoid confusion at this stage, I'm going to just keep them the same. Okay, and let's run this. Okay, and we have success here. Okay, so hi Fred, item bought jacket, which is the item bought, obviously the cost including GST for one jacket is that. Okay, and yeah, that's basically how we've set up a function which is set up to receive 4 bits of information, doing some calculations with those. Here's a function which is sending 4 bits of information outwards, but where are those 4 bits of information being used? Well, wherever we've got the name of these 4 items. So getInfo sends 4 bits of information. This function is set up here to receive those 4 bits of information. Now we could use those 4 bits of information elsewhere as well, as long as the program has sent the information first. So for example, let me just put another example here, console.log, and let me just make a message, hello, and let's put username. And let's add on nice to meet you. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, let's go with jacket again. Can't think of anything else at the moment. Okay, let's say it was slightly less expensive jacket, but we bought 2 of them. Okay, so notice up here, hello Fred, nice to meet you. So this information, the username, together with these other 3 bits of information, was sent to the program after that function was called. And we've used username here and the same username here, okay, which has been sent together with these other 3 bits of information to this function, and some calculations and output done. But basically username can be used anywhere you like now inside your program. Okay, so there we go, another example of a program that uses information to do a calculation and a function which sends information out. Okay, so try and use these ideas in the questions that you have to do.